Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good day, and a very warm welcome to Chai with Vijay Jogia. I'm Vijay Jogia, and I am logging you into our system. Welcome to the show. Now, we have some internet issues here. The screen is freezing, so just excuse us, right? We're live. We're live on Facebook and on the YouTube. The purpose of this show, ladies and gentlemen, is to invite professionals from various achievers to come and talk to us about the current affair in their areas of expertise and knowledge. Our guests are from all over the world, and the subjects we cover range from law, immigration, real estate, even Bollywood, sports, health, to the current affairs. Furthermore, this program is to provide information. Here, there is no money exchange, nor there is any financial gains by anyone. Also, there is no discrimination towards or against anyone, either individual or a company, right? So this program is only for your entertainment. So without further delay, let me tell you that I'm really excited and delighted to welcome our guest to the show. Now, just a little bit about our guest tonight. She is from Melbourne. She's a highly sophisticated young lady who is a radio presenter. She's a TV actor who has worked with ABC and the Doordarshan. She has worked with on stage with the Give Me Drama, and she has worked with Mr. Rohit Roy Kumar of AIFAV, which is Australian Indian Fijian Association of Victoria. And recently, at the age of 60 plus, our guest has just completed, she came as a second runner-up for a Bollywood modeling contest. And finally, she's also very active with charity. Ladies and gentlemen, without much further delay, I want to welcome our guest, and her name is AuntyNo1 Australia. What is it? AuntyNo1 Australia. Let me welcome AuntyNo1 Australia. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good evening, Vijayji. Firstly, it's an honor and a privilege to appear on your program. And good evening to all the listeners all over the world. And yes, I'm AuntyNo1.
Now you are AuntyNo1, but you are also Salma Ji, also known as Mumtaz Ji, right?
Yes.
So we have got like collection of good names. We are not arguing with you. Welcome once again. Welcome to the show. Now, firstly, Mumtaz, AuntyNo1, I'll call you AuntyNo1 Australia. Tell me, where did you get this name from? AuntyNo1.
Thank you, Vijayji. It's quite obvious. Firstly, I'm an auntie, a senior citizen, and I had to give a name so that I could be called and addressed by that name, which commands a lot of respect and seniority in the community. And that also gives me the voice to present and attend to various community organizations and charities. Without having a banner or a name, I wouldn't be able to communicate or deliver what I would like to do best.
Right. So AuntyNo1. So you are known
Hanji.
as that name throughout Australia.
Yes, and possibly spreading all over the world. And yes,
Excellent.
I rock and I'm number one, and I will be number one.
Okay, great. Now let me ask you, for the sake of our audience, just tell us about your background. Where have you been? What have you done? Where were you born? And what are you doing now? Just give our audience a general overview of what you are and what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Vijayji. Basically, I'm an original Fijian Indian, a descendant of the Gurmetiers, and
Yes.
yes, migrated to Australia. My parents lived in Australia and they sponsored me, and I've come here. It's well over 35 years now. And yes, all my siblings and my family and my grandparents and everyone have lived here, and my grandparents have died here, even in Australia. And yes, so I'm very much an Fijian Indian Australian at the moment.
That's exciting. And I was just going through the achievements that you have achieved, and that looks it's a very good set to show people. Uh,
Yes,
okay, so you were born in Fiji, brought up in Australia and Melbourne and
yes,
Brisbane, and you've traveled the world and all those things, right?
yes,
Which is
yes,
fantastic. Now I want to
yes,
get straight to the point, right?
yes,
I understand now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I understand that you are a sufferer from depression and anxiety illness. For how
yes.
many for how many years have you been dealing with that?
Yes, in a very short context, I'd like to say that yes, I am a living sufferer of severe depression and anxiety going over the span of 40 years.
40 years. That's a long
Yes,
period.
yes,
Auntie number one. I mean, there are so many people in Australia, suffering from depression, anxiety,
yes,
and mental
yes,
stress, and all those things, right?
yes.
So, 40 years. So how have you coped with all that, and what's been your personal experience on that?
Okay, thank you for asking me. Firstly, I'd like to say that whatever information I do pass in this interview, like you mentioned earlier, there's no discrimination and it is only for the information and entertainment. Whatever opinions I do deliver is of a general nature, and how you perceive it or what conceptions you take, it is at your discretion. So basically, most of the people here in Australia and overseas are suffering from mental health. Now, mental health is a very, very broad term. It can be sort of segregated into various different names and how it is dealt with. Essentially, it is an individual's journey. Every sufferer has their own journey, and they have their own specific requirements and medication. And me being one of them, who could not shake it off. Firstly, because when I was going through these past 40 years, as I'm 60 now, so basically from the age of 20, I've been suffering. However, this is very important information for the sufferers who may be tuning in, that medication and continuity is a very important aspect of this illness, because if it's not handled in a consistent manner and not dealt with a lot of community family support and counseling, it can go out of hand. In these 40 years I had battled it on and off, saying I'm better now, I don't need medication, I can handle it. Come 1 year, 6 months down the track, I get back into the hole in the very common language. I get back into that state of mind of very severe anxiety and non-stop crying for no reason as at all, remorse, being secluded from the community, not being able to handle any relationship, not even any friendships. Why? Because it takes a lot for people to understand you. Now, between you and I and the audience, now, a person wouldn't like to show their better side to people because they don't want to know. They are oblivious to what you really are. They are only seeing your suffering and distancing themselves socially from you, thinking, which is the society's myth, that whoever is suffering from depression, anything to do with the mental health, means they're probably retarded in the very common language and in the very common community goss, so to speak. So I had battled this on and off, but the bottom line is that I was a fighter, which I am today. The way to deal with it, on and off, I have assessed myself. I had traveled the world, and I didn't live in one state. I've been to various states, from Brisbane, ACT, Sydney, Melbourne, back again. Why? Because that was part of the journey. I was reaching out for something where
Mm.
I could get closure, which is very, very important, to get closure.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
okay. And in saying this, I would like to say, generally across the board, it is very, very important to have your medication. It's good that people may say, okay, you can do meditation, you can do yoga, you can do prayers, you can do sports, you name anything, you can do it. However, at the end of the day, our body is full of chemicals and diseases. Now, we need that chemical balance in our
Mm.
brain,
Mhm.
and to supplement that, we need counseling. We need to develop other interests to sway and divert our mind from focusing on our worries and feeling sorry for ourselves, feeling depressed. And why?
Mm.
How is this born? This depression, how is it born? There's always a reason: child neglect, genetic, and also some abuse in a childhood, or breakdown of marriage. Now, all these, a handful of examples do contribute why a certain sufferer behaves in a certain way. Now, what I would like to especially say to the audience and the mass all over the world is that yes, you can. You are the driver. You drive it. You can do it. But don't leave the medication. You need the chemical imbalance, and you need to have other interests. You need to have counseling. And
Let me
don't
let me
feel so.
let me stop you there and ask you on that medication. So you said medication is very important, which we agree.
Yes.
However, many people, many patients may not be happy to take their medicines. What do you say to that? If they are not happy to take their medicines, they don't want it, they're running away from it. How would you control that?
Okay, okay. Vijayji, what it is now, like I said earlier, every individual sufferer have their own journey, and they have their own requirements. One particular medication may be a positive for one sufferer, it may not be the positive for the other. It is an individual scenario where you got to handle and listen to the professionals, because they know more. Now, with the medications, if you suddenly stop, you will start getting withdrawal symptoms. Besides, if you engage yourself in meditation, yes, it gives you peace. It takes your attention away from your mind, because your mind is so mentally congested, and these unwanted thoughts keep pounding in your mind. The thoughts that you don't think about starts coming to your mind, and then you start behaving in a different manner. Your behavior changes. You have your highs and lows. One moment you could be very excited, next minute you will be in the dark room, and you'll want your pillow, you'll want your bed, you'll want the dark room, you wouldn't want to talk. Now, there are so many relationships breaking down. Why? Because the spouses cannot understand the distancing, the seclusion, the behavioral patterns that that person is going through. Now, all these things take time. Medication takes time. To stop the medication, you have to go through the gradual process, which the doctor, as a professional, will guide you to slowly, for example, I'm taking 20 milligrams at a time. And then the doctor had given me 250 milligrams of Zyprexa. Now, Zyprexa is very good. I cannot specify now on air because I'm not a professional to talk specific medications. However, just a living example, personally, I found that it was making me sleepy and sleepy. And one fine day, I was in the traffic, and believe me, I knocked out on the wheel.
Oh.
And then it was a wake up call. Hang on, people are tooting. What's happening? I had fallen asleep. I had gone to the doctor and said, no matter what, I'm taking one medication. However, I cannot take the second one. But at the same token, another patient may need that very medication very badly.
Yeah.
So it varies. It's an individual journey. And the
Mm.
family support is very important, and your interest, your social interest, and of course the medication. Now, if you do that and everything is you are the driver. If you tell yourself mentally, I will
Mm.
do the job, I will go over this, you will. Now look at me. One moment I'm crying, I go on the air, I go on the radio to present the radio, but no one will know from my voice that I have just cried. Or I go to work, I put on the makeup. No one would know that I had not slept the whole night or I had bawled my eyes out crying. So it's
Mm.
just a matter of adapting to the situation and the drive in your mind. Vijayji?
Okay, now that's thanks for explaining all that in details. If you don't mind, with regards to yourself, right?
Yes.
What do you think caused you mental stress and depression? Personal experience.
I have not, people do know that I'm a sufferer, and people have seen me having a series of um, relationship breakdown. Like up to now, I have everything going for me. However, unfortunately, I couldn't secure a relationship or a marriage. Why? Because in this age and time, no one has the time to understand anybody. Life's too fast. So basically, I find that you become a loner. You become a
Mm.
loner, and then you carry on. But getting back to your question, if you can repeat that, because I diverted a bit.
Yeah, I said, what were your personal reasons that caused that depression, that mental
All right.
stress?
Okay. I wouldn't normally share it, but due respect to you, when I was only 20, my marriage was a failure and a fraud, and that had because I've been brought up in such a good family, and I've studied in New Zealand, I've been coming to Australia as a kid, like basically, to so to speak, I've been brought up well, and my family too, from Fiji. Then they had the business in Brisbane, so I never knew what misery was, and I
Mm.
never knew what heartache and fraud word was. And
Mm.
that mentally, me being a premature child born
Right.
in 7 months, that continues and has certain impact on your life where you cannot absorb or assimilate what comes to you. It's like a total shock to your mind. And that set the trend, and not trend, rather, it's the wrong word. That that's how it transitioned throughout my life, that I couldn't stop crying and getting over that.
Mm.
And then I tried to settle down a few times, maybe one too many times, but
Happens to us. Happens to.
yeah,
Let me ask you a very serious question, and
please.
you may not want to answer it, but if you do, when people are depressed, mental stress, anxieties, lots of problems, I've seen loneliness, all those things trigger something in your mind, say, oh, I'm not worthy of living this life.
Yes.
That's I don't support that at all. But however, have you ever had a thought in your mind that you want to give up this life and just sit, call it a day?
Yes, Vijayji, one too many times.
Tell
One
us.
too many times. Yeah, I cannot go into very detail. However, generally across the board, I have been I have been admitted in a mental institution a couple of years back, and also a couple of years back, I had slit my wrist and
Oh,
tried to take my life, and I had also left home in the morning and told myself I'm not coming back home tonight. So I had informed all my family that, look, I've got a very bad thought coming to my mind, and it's not good news. I may not make it home tonight. And of course, the family got into a big, huge panic, and I knew that I wouldn't live. But my prayers and the vision of my daughter coming in my face, making me think that, Salmaji, what will happen to your daughter? What if, the thought, at the end of the day, we are only humans. Now, what if I didn't succeed with the attempt? I'd be wheelchair bound. Now, the reason why I'm saying these things, so that there are people out there who are thinking of taking their lives. So please don't go down that path, because if you do make an attempt, the thing is you'll have to go into hospital and they will medicate you and medicate you. This is general information, and you may not be able to feel normal. In a common word, you'll feel like a zombie,
yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
worst case scenario, you may even be wheelchair bound, or you may have a stroke or a loss. Now, all those things, if you think about it, will refrain you from making an attempt. However, I did cut my wrist, and yes, I was sent by ambulance to the hospital, and had a series of counseling. And then I know also, I'm sharing this because I know many people out there don't like counseling, because the counselors, generally speaking, my opinion only, is that they repeat things over and over again. They make you repeat your history, this and that. By the time they're done with you, you are almost brainwashed. So that's why it is important to have various interest and support, so that you're not focused on just medication and counseling. You can find happiness, peace, understanding, and a bit of counseling by other means.
I,
So
I see you have developed a self counseling exercise kind of a routine. Tell us more about that. What does that involve?
okay, whilst having a counseling, and my doctor, he asked me, "Do you have any hobbies or anything?" So of course, my main hobby is music and acting. He said, "Start focusing on your music."
Hmm.
Because we tell the patients to start listening to music. Now, when you're singing, it's not because you want to look young or you want to be a better singer. Remember one thing, at the end of the day, there is always a better singer and a better looking person and a more richer person and XYZ. So you can never be what others are. What you got to do is make it your own baby. So you start focusing on your music. That's what I did. And I find that that is my inner voice, my inner expressions. I'm not only able to cry and let out my feelings, because by crying you letting out your emotions, because your lips are tight, you can't speak, you can't express, because you're so emotionally run down, so you have tears rolling down your eyes. However, if you sing, you're singing the words, you're singing the lyrics that comes out of your system. You actually singing from your stomach. You take all your emotions, your energy, and you put it at one focal point. Now that is diverting your mind away from the sickness that you are suffering. You don't have a husband, the family doesn't want you, they're sick of your crying, the friends have distanced yourself. Now you are a winner, you are the driver, you do it. That's me. And yes, you can. And why not? This is me, auntie number one, 60-year-old. And yes, I'm successful. I've got a job. I've got food on my table. I've got clothes. I am not dependent on anyone apart from Almighty God and my belief.
Yeah, well, it is really nice to know, and I mean, you are now a totally independent person. You've got a
Yes,
lovely job. You are a
yes,
radio DJ, radio jockey, and you have a good number of friends around with you, um,
yes,
which is fantastic. And that's what. And you've been through 40 years of of
yes,
of this
yes.
depression and mental stress and so
And
on. Right?
no
Yeah.
one
So.
understood me.
Yeah. So what would you then tell people? I mean, you
Like,
are an inspiration to
yes,
common people who are suffering from these
yes.
couple of things. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I'm doing. I don't have an organization. I'm a freelancer. I speak to ladies who have got relationship problems, who are suicidal, who are about to leave their good marriage and walk away. I've been talking to them and counseling them in my own capacity with my experience, my enthusiasm, the way I come across, because there are people who need a lot of TLC. They don't want to read books. Now, if I tell you I've done all my story in a book, I'm sure you won't read it. But people like reality TV, reality show, real person,
Right.
someone who's going through that to speak to you. Now, I do know of one case, and I'm not going to name anybody, with due respect to all my friends and everyone. I do know of a case where this lady was about to walk away from her good marriage. She was about to commit suicide, and she even had plans that as soon as she's quite established, as in getting her certificate, getting a job, and then leaving the partner. Now, I had intervened and said, no, this is not right. Look at me. In every case, almost, I had to give my living example. Even on the radio show, I give my example so that people can perceive it, they can relate to it. Now, no use helping people when you don't come across. You've got to have that medium to be able to communicate so that they can embrace it, they can perceive it, and then be happy. And basically, in saying this, my journey at the moment is I'm counseling as a freelancer from my experience, not as a professional, right? Remember, Mother Teresa didn't have to have a piece of paper and a degree to get the whole world to her feet. The
Sure.
Amma in India, everyone wants to hug her. Even I want to hug her. Now, she didn't need a piece of paper, a degree to be able to get that. At the end of the day, humanity is the religion now. The world is suffering because of the COVID. Mother Nature has taken care. Now, because of the COVID, how many relationships are breaking? Children are falling apart. People are losing their mortgages, their homes. They are homeless. They don't have food on their table. Now, think about it. What sort of depression they will be going through? And remember, this will not happen straight away. In a couple of months down the track, people who've been locked in their homes with husband and wife or not on good terms, not having food on the table, that will psychologically culminate and make a home in their mind. And then they will start feeling depressed. Now, this process takes over time. So that's what it is, Vijayji.
That's excellent. Thanks for explaining all that stuff. So, uh, you are a good counselor, and obviously, you are doing that. Is there any
Yes,
chance of you doing it even more to get more people involved in your
I
groups?
yes. To be very honest, Vijayji, and due respect to other people, if I could, I would like to have a lecture room, a hall where
Mm,
I could individually give love and speak endlessly at my own cost to people to reach out to them. However, I'm not looking at quantity, I'm looking at quality. I like to help the right people instead
mm,
of having, so many people coming in. I'm not here for recognition. If I give peace to someone or just say something in a conversation that may just sink in, click in to that individual. Now, out of this 1 hour's conversation, I've picked up something that I wanted, and that gives closure to the person. So for me, I'd like to reach out to as many people as I can, and I wouldn't like to really brag. However, I've been giving out to charities endlessly. Even now during COVID, I do know of 1 or 2 cases where men don't have taxi driving job, poor people. I have sent money across to them. I have sent money locally. Why? It's not because I want a name, but by forking out that my hard earned money, which I don't earn much, being a single person, I still share that money because that gives me inner peace. Like I mentioned earlier on in the conversation, you do things to get closure, the peace of mind. It's not only counseling, it's not only medication. You have to do things that make you happy, gives you the closure. So that's what it is, and that's what I'd like to continue to do. And yes, I'd like to be traveling overseas as well. But like they say, charity begins from home.
oh,
So I'd like to do things in my community here in Australia. Now, by saying community at large, which involves all the Australians, regardless of black, white, Aboriginals, Asians, anybody, they are all humans. Now, I'd like to share the love with them.
yes.
I'd like to give them the peace.
Right. Salmaji, you are a fascinating woman, and I'm so glad that you're doing all these things and that you are
Yes,
sharing your experience with
yes.
the others. Now, Auntie Number One, Australia, I'm sure people would like you to come back and have a chat with me. If that was the case, what sort of subjects would you talk to me about that we
Oh,
haven't covered?
yes, definitely, Vijayji. Firstly, I would be talking about jobs, how psychologically a person, how you have to psych yourself, persevere, and XYZ. We will go into detail. That's one of the topics. Marital, very important. How to deal in a relationship, what to do, what not to do. Not that I'm a successful person in a marriage, I've never been because of my condition. However, being a senior older person and having the experience of life and the knowledge that God has given me, I can talk about the marriage, how to deal with the divorces, separation of children, separation of properties, all those things. And also living with the simplest of things, that is discussing how people psychologically get depressed and affected when they look at other people living in sheer luxury, whereas
Mm,
they can't afford good things. Now, that is a very good thing to speak to people, to tell them how to find peace and contentment under just one roof with the simple things in life that can
mhm.
make the maximum difference to your life.
Right. Thank you so much, Auntie Number One, Australia. I was really delighted to have a chat with you. I'm really pleased Is there any? We have come. We have done more than 35 minutes. Have you?
Yes,
You have any last message for our audience? Remember, our audience are worldwide, so it,
yes.
yeah. Do you want to say quickly something to them?
Yes, Vijayji. Thank you for giving me the time. Firstly, I'd like to say believe in yourself, love yourself. You are the driver. Yes, you can do it. Remember Obama line?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Yes, we can. And before I finish, I'd like to highlight on our local community here in Australia to say that Rohit Roy Kumar and Shalini Ashika Kumar have worked tirelessly for our community in all works, including the bushfires, for the Australians, and for the charity back home in Fiji, and also instrumental in organizing Girmit drama and letting our society know how we originate from. And they are at the moment doing webinar. They are trying to address and bring the awareness in our community so that we can live in a harmonious way. So I'd like to give credit to both of them
Thank you.
for inspiring me. Shalini Ashika Kumar had inspired me to start modeling at the age of 60 when I went in Girmi drama. She said, Auntie, you can model. Now, she didn't realize that emotionally it was, yes, you start it now. And yes, I started. And that
Yes.
wasn't, it didn't stop there. It gave me entry into Bollywood Night where I won the crown, and also I got the sash and recognition. So basically, you can do it.
All right, thank you. We'll leave it there, Auntie number one, Australia, Salmaji, Mumtazji. I really wish you all the best. Continue with your projects that you are working on, and may God help you with all those things, and do help other people like you are doing. And I definitely want to come and have you here back so we can have a follow up on this. And
Yes.
so that's it. I like to thank the audience for joining Vijay, me, for a chai with Vijay Jogia. Here's my chai. I just get my chance to drink it now. And it's been really good. And I like to thank the audience for watching us. And I like to thank the Facebook and the YouTube and other social media for broadcasting our shows. And there is another thing I like to do is to welcome. I like to invite all professionals and experts, should they want to come and talk to us about their knowledge and share with us their expertise. Please do let me know, and I'll make sure that I will make sure we can bring you and have a chat with you on your subjects of knowledge. We come live every 2 to 3 days during the week. And well, that's it. I have come to the close now, and I am once again reminding you that I'm Vijay Jogia, and I'm logging you out from our system. So until next time, stay clean, stay fresh, keep your distance. Remember, coronavirus has not been eradicated. It is still around here. So we have to be very careful, very vigilant, and try and avoid that. So until next time, stay happy and stay tuned, and watch Chai with Vijay. And Salmaji, thank you so much for your